destiny, somebody you're supposed to be. Far from the small town, there's answers waiting to be found. So she lies awake, thinking there's been some mistake, crying her eyes out, begging for help. She's shouting, I want a new brain, I want a new heart. I'm sick of feeling, failing and falling apart.
I'm here with CP Sketch, and today we are going to be discussing motivation. We're going to be discussing the idea of a preconceived notion and what that actually means, and why you should avoid them. Really, that's the biggest thing. You should avoid preconceived notions, but our brain naturally wants to. We always come from a place of comparison whenever we enter any situation. So we tend to have a preconceived notion without even meaning to.
Yes.
We could dig right into that. Oops.
Oh.
Sorry about that, CP.
Moving me around.
You still
We're
there?
actually new stuff today. Live. Well, I was. Space Viking.
Yeah, it broke. Sorry, hold on. I'm here. Sorry about that. I'm back.
It's all right. So motivation's interesting because today, Abso and I both woke up having like probably the most unmotivated simultaneous feeling. Couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it. Just woke up with a big old fat nope.
Right.
Nope, we're done. And motivation's interesting for me because half an hour before we started setting up, I got a weird burst of motivation to do something I should have done a long time ago. It was fix my chair. It's like I was just like these damn arms on this damn chair. I had to flip the chair over and get my tools out and just do it. And I don't know where I don't know where it came from.
So it's really funny. It's such a ADHD trope.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy to put things off and then get to this moment, especially when you're literally sitting in a chair and dealing with the reality of the chair every day. And then one day I've had it.
Like
I'm gonna do it.
I can't do this anymore.
And then you set these very unrealistic time parameters for yourself. Like I know I have all this responsibility. This is probably not a good time to wake up first thing in the morning and do, but you know what? I'm going to do it and I only have this much time, and it gave you the discipline to get it done.
So
you had to do it kind of around the house sort of method, but it works.
Yeah. The ADHD standpoint is huge for me because like I do have that. And CP, it's my understanding that you also experience that to a degree that you would say is, I hate the word chronic, but I'm struggling to find other words. Like, I don't think my case of it is chronic, but there are times when I do spontaneously fix my chair.
Like, it's just funny. It's this fixation.
But the thing is, like with a neurodivergency like that, you end up falling into this place where I'm looking at these what motivation is and what a lot of psychologists say motivates people. You and I don't fit into those concepts. Like this one here says people are motivated in their professional lives by certain factors, including money, recognition, power, passion, and meaning.
Yep.
Whereas like I find that those things tend to actually infuriate me. Like, I don't care about recognition. I don't really want power, and money pisses me off. Like the idea of it, even.
Yeah,
But I do tend to find meaning. That's probably my main motivator if I were to go by that list. Like
yeah.
what?
It's the same conversation that we had yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. Just yesterday, we were space time is subjective out here. But
Yeah,
so we were talking last week about um, that similar idea, your core values, and when that actually that was the week before, I think, right? Like the self concept. So what are you? And
yeah.
you said like I think we are our deeds, and I'm like, yeah, and I think a step further, we are the values that motivate the deeds,
Yes.
because
Oh yeah, that
because
does
in
sort
that
of fit in with that.
because you don't necessarily have to work value something, and that can be part of the problem, for mental health, where I value something but I don't actively work to do the deed in your language. You could value it, but then you wouldn't do the deed. So in a way, I think yours is more genuine, but it still doesn't negate that I could value connectedness and be completely alone all the time, or I could value money and not have a cent to my name. And I think that's where the value of money does get shifted.
I think so too.
And
Yeah.
it's that it's experience, and that's more of the later part of what you were talking about today, how the concept is perceived. So it's going to be impacted by an experience with either money or connectedness. So,
I when it comes to motivation though,
well, and
like
then
does
that,
it actually
so
get
that,
you does it actually get you up in the morning? That's sort of where where the shift is to the motivation lens is.
when that,
Does it get you out of bed? Is it enough for you to actually want to, like, for instance, you said this morning you and M had some issues like actually getting up and getting going.
yeah.
What was the factor that was missing that you would say that kept you from wanting to get up and go?
I think, like you were thinking, the preconceived notion, the concept, the information that I had currently at that time was being impacted by the fact that we had a snow day yesterday, and a lot of times I do have to go out and leave. I have some responsibilities, but because of the nature of it and the iciness of it, I was able to stay in. We stayed in. We didn't do a lot. We had our podcast, but for the
Mhm.
most part, it was just being at the house and being warm. I've got this wonderful, like, soft blanket that I got. That it was the best Christmas present house, because not only do I appreciate it, Abso appreciates it, and the cats very much appreciate
The cats
it. Number
do.
one, number one hit, the big fuzzy blanket. So you get into that thing, and it's just wonderful, warm snuggles,
What's the
and it's easy to not want to get out of that situation.
what's the main thing that hurts your motivation? Ah, the fuzzy blanket. it's a it's
Yeah.
the big one. That's what stunts the motivation.
Well, isn't that true? Because we're both vibing off the fact that we could just chill. And then, like, it's now the second morning. We're in the same situation.
Hmm.
And we were able to just stay. If we could just stay in bed, how amazing would that be? And considering Abso had to get up at 9 and do some important work, um, she was talking with someone for the paper
Hmm.
concerning our issues that we have with our neighborhood. And so she didn't even have the full opportunity to have the sleep in morning. I could see, like, the need, adding that information on top of the loss of maybe something that you didn't get out of the day. And, oh, I could get it today. But yeah, it's just warmth and comfortableness. Cat comes along, you can blame him too, and it's like, uh,
I'm kind of a jerk to my cat in that regard. she'll come and lay on me, and I'm like, I was just about to get up, and I'll just like push her off of me, and like I'll feel bad every time because she'll make this face, and it's like, I'm sorry that your cat friends are streaming, are like sending some telepathy to you from across the way, that they're allowed to just sit on their owners and for hours, and sorry, nope, I got shit to do.
I wish my cat sat on me.
Oh, this is a bagel bite.
Both of them. So Bagel bonded with me early and held him a lot as a kitten. And he and Cheese it when I first got them. I have pictures of them sitting on my lap and bonding. But see, Cheese It really loves Abso now and like snuggles on her shoulder every night and has this routine. But yeah, Bagel will come and sit on my lap in the morning if he wants something for a second, but we're losing that. And
Mm-hmm.
Abso goes to bed and they'll actually be on the bed with her. And
Oh wow.
like, yeah, when I go down there, take the fuck off.
Oh, huh.
I think so. They really like me, but there could be
Are you
there
another
could be
cat?
these it could be it could be a cat thing or it could be an alpha thing.
Oh, well, that's what I mean though. It's like cats are very social when it comes to like who's sort of in charge, but it's not like a dog where it's alpha and beta, or well, even dogs don't even do that because that was debunked recently. But I know what you mean by it when you say it. It's, I don't think it's a leadership thing. I think that they just see you as another cat. Like my friend Tim, for instance, whenever he would come over, and Kira would never like lay on her. She would only like sit near him and bother him because he wanted him to play. Because she wanted him to play, and I really think she just saw him as a big weird cat. that
That's funny.
But I'm wondering if that could be it, because that's what I watch a lot of that Jackson Galaxy guy, and one of the psychological aspects he talked about was
Oh, oh,
was
that guy,
yeah,
right?
was that, like, say what you will about his fashion choices. He had
I mean, whatever.
a lot of good
I'm not.
a lot of cat psychology. He had some good tips that actually worked out for me,
I've
like
learned a lot.
citrus
I watch his videos.
citrus spray on the stuff you don't want them to scratch. Their,
Oh,
their paws are so sensitive that even just a little bit of citrus there, and then they're like, oh, I don't like that, and then eventually their brain will just think, oh, that's a no zone, and since they decided it themselves, then it sticks.
yeah, and they need to know what. I mean, they're creatures of habit. You just need to define stuff, and if you don't define stuff early on, then you're just gonna have wild ass cats. And
He's
they
pretty
need to
wild.
know what they can do, and you also have to people. I don't think people provide enough for the damn cats, unfortunately. Like
Oh,
I always I say at this point in my life, I live here, I pay the bills, but I
yeah,
really don't live here. I pay the bills and the cats live here. Like
right.
everything I do is for them. Um, I build I build the structures around them. Most of
Okay.
the stuff is designed for the flow of the cats.
Yeah.
They're here
Um,
all the time.
I was surprised by when my girlfriend's cats were acting up like crazy, and I was just like, they need something to climb and they need somewhere high up. And then a couple weeks later, I go over there and Stacy had built um this awesome like thing out of birch logs,
Oh yeah.
and it went all the way up to the ceiling, and it gave them a place to jump across and then lay in a bed. And it worked wonderfully. Like, they were so much happier, they were more active, they had some place to get away from each other if they wanted to.
Nice.
So that's what motivates cats.
Yeah, I know we're getting like side tangent, but it's interesting that you did say that as far as motivating cats, just knowing those simple things that doesn't take much, doesn't take really anything except for a little consideration about their basic needs of wanting to get some height, needing to work their claws, different things. And one thing I started helping this woman. I actually have to. I haven't officially like been hired. I'm gonna do gloom maintenance.
Oh,
And this woman, I hope this all works out because she's an artistic boomer who was really interesting. I met her once at her place, and she's a hoarder. And
oh,
I'm trying to go in there with my skill set, carpentry abilities, artist eye, all that stuff, and figure out what we can do for her and like help her change her life. Um, and I think she's going to do some journaling. We might be able to do some art stuff to add to the Dreamers Arcade.
oh, that's cool.
Um, art imitating life, because I want this. I want this all to go together eventually. And one thing that she was having a concern with, she has this big, big space, lots of stuff, very creative. I get it. A lot of projects, and she had this cat, and she's like, I don't know, young, he wants to get in stuff. I feel like I should do more. Can you come over and build something? She
Oh,
known I, yeah, she known I had different stuff, but didn't have a lot of time then. I was finishing up a lot of stuff, and I told her, "Hey, look, we'll get together, and I'll have a lot more time in the winter to sort all this stuff out." Well, in the meantime, I looked, and she goes, "He likes to look out this window all the time." It was a giant glass sliding door, and I said, "Oh yeah, I imagine he would." And I looked above the glass sliding door, and there was a long, long panoramic window that went the entire length of the two doors. Small little like trim board above it. And I told her, I go, we could buff that out and make that bigger as that trim board as a sill, but that cat would love it up there in that window. And if you put anything so that he could get to that window, she's like, I have this little ladder. I was like, if you lean that up, watch. And then like almost instantaneously she did that, and she started sending me pictures. The cat ran right up the ladder,
mm-hmm.
and it walked along the sill back and forth in the window. And that's all you really needed to do. Good amount of time. A cat will love that forever.
So
Need
it was just something
height
that
and access.
and like the cat already had the desire to go higher,
Yeah.
and then you just gave it an a bit the
Yeah, I gave it a little bit. I just did a slight modification. Like people think that they need to do big things. And this is back into the ADHD. I get a lot of delusions of grandeur, and I think I need to do more and more and more. The situation has to be 100% figured out in its entirety for me to even do it. And I also have the fear of more options and things that stop me from doing stuff. And even with the renovation and pulling my house apart and the stuff I've done last year, stuff that completely seized me up because I'm more about all the little details. And I talked to somebody not too long ago. What if it's just about main components? What if it's just an issue like you more about the framing or general to specific? Close it in. How can you hang a piece of plastic to make it a room again? Simple things. And when I was able to start doing simple solutions like that, it made it a lot more manageable, and then it made the stress of it easier for me. I've just made it. It's like a less harm idea. Like, how can I make this less harmful or smoker, you smoke a pack a day, less than a pack a day, or one in less harm. Make it better, but not the best. That's hard for ADHD.
That is like, well, anything addictive.
Yeah.
Anything addictive will get you if you have ADHD. So this whole time you were explaining, my cat was exhibiting behavior that shows that she does not have enough stuff to expend her energy. So my cat cam here, she was attacking my hand. I was just trying to like pet her, and she's ready to pounce. But she just caught herself. I love that when cats realize they're exhibiting very feral behavior, they're like, "Oh shit. I just got lost in myself." Like their face just goes, "Oh man, I just hurt my owner."
What did they do?
But she
one time I looked at Bagel and I go, disgraceful. He looked at me so sad.
Disgraceful. Yeah.
Because it was something to do with his brother too. I go, disgraceful.
Look at Inky's face here. Like she knows. She knows that.
Oh, her ears are down and shit.
Yeah. See, she knows that like I'm petting her, but she was just biting me like really hard. Like look at my hand. I don't know if you can see the dents. Oh, there she goes. Why are you doing that, Inky?
So overstimulation.
Yeah.
She either wants to play, or you're petting her to she's overstimulated, and then they bite and scratch you. I didn't know that about cats. That's something
that she doesn't want to. She doesn't want the stimulation.
I'm an overstimulator. This guy.
Yeah. This guy. About the subjects at hand, I'm gonna play with the cat.
Oh, that's fine.
Because you're right.
Play with the cat.
All right. Well, we'll put it on the cat cam. It's her cat area.
Some of these.
I wish that I had more motivation to play with her. Like I wish I had more of a
Wish. Got a genie buddy. Wish.
A genie buddy? Yeah, I do. I wish ChatGPT could just tell me to play with my cat right when I get home.
I wish life was just awesome. Just dumped every awesome thing I thought.
Yeah.
I wish it would just, make me the center of the universe. And I didn't have to do a fucking thing. And it just
you are
everything.
You were touching on a very important thing, actually, that fits right in with our subject matter here.
Okay.
Because would you say people expect? Would you say like humans expect things to work out? Like
or they don't.
Like we enter into a. Okay, yeah, we're gonna go with the overstimulation. She's not actually in the mood for playing. All right, Inky, I'll let you rest. You can come back up on the desk now if you'd like.
What's your cat's cycle too? Like, I'm not talking about like it has a period or anything. I'm just saying, like, does it have a cat cycle where it's hype, like, so you know to play with it? Like, I could play with my cats in the morning at like 8 a.m. because they're gonna be fucking insane.
Yeah.
Always gonna want to play.
She does have a cycle, but I that's where I'm saying the I wish, because I haven't really made the time to learn her cycles, and that's on me as a cat owner.
It's a bad relationship, dude.
It is. She's become like a roommate that I don't understand enough.
That's weird too, because I always thought.
But she does love me. Like she greets me at the door when I get home, and she's all meowy and.
I always thought you were just structured.
Me?
What's up, Crazy C?
To a degree.
You're yummy. Going Crazy C.
She just thinks I'm yummy.
Motivates you.
Yeah, Crazy C. So the list that I've been given by the Googleverse, which is always very basic and lacks context, is what motivates people is money, recognition, power, passion, and meaning. But then I looked further, and the top result is 9 ways to motivate others. And research suggests that humans are motivated by autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And I'm like, that's huge. Like autonomy is big. So, there's a lot of folks that I work with in my line of work that they've lost autonomy in their life, and it makes them rebellious. It makes them want
Really?
well,
So what's an example?
an example is like we often have to create a set of structure and rules, whereas the person didn't have to adhere to a set of structure and rules before they entered our space. And they lose that autonomy to do whatever they want, and they tend to lash out, and it causes them to lose motivation because they no longer have their autonomy.
Because they're governed too much.
Exactly. They don't. Yeah.
Hmm.
And they're governed too much. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, I mean it's a hierarchy, and I, you know, when I hear you talk about that, I think about like a lot of that probably is a result of lawsuits and
there's a lot of different factors. For those of you that don't know, my main job is I work in homelessness, and we help house and prevent. We help prevent homelessness, but we also house people who are experiencing homelessness.
So like transitional like families to people who like kind of just been had a bad run and shit fell apart. Now they don't.
And like there's people who thrive in our system, and there's people who really do struggle with the self motivation, the self governance. Like we recently had to instate a mandatory, well, like a mandatory meeting. Like I can't get into too many details about what it actually entails, but we had to institute. They were supposed to come to us and write down on a list every time they wanted to have this meeting, right? And they weren't doing it. They just weren't self-motivating to come talk to us every week. So what we instead had to do was make it mandatory. Like, okay, we're gonna come find you, and if you can't if you keep missing the meeting for whatever reasons, this voice is noise.
Abso, what's up?
Abso, thank you so much for that sub. If they can't come to the meeting for too many times in a row, then they're gonna get disciplined. There's gonna be circumstances and ramifications that come from that. And that started to really bother them. And we're like, guys, we gave you 4 months to use the list we put up on the bulletin board. And now none of you are at a place where things are actually working out. You know, like this isn't going to work in the long term, because this is supposed to be a place that you come to eventually find a permanent place to live. You know, and they're essentially, it's to prevent them from getting too comfortable.
Yeah.
And as a motivator, I've found from doing this is why I'm telling the story, that it actually isn't that good of a motivator. It honestly just creates fear.
What, making people do the stuff?
Like forcing people to do it, and then basically creating consequences for them not doing it is basically making them do it out of fear. Like they're not doing it because they want to. They're doing it because they're going to lose something, which I don't think is a good training. It's not a way to actually train someone to form good habits. But that's my own opinion of it.
Like, I'm not saying
that's just how we do it.
You just got me thinking. So it's just it's because I can understand that. I think there's, with therapy, I think there's a job of the person who's delivering the therapy that does need to try to inspire and motivate, because that's probably the biggest problem, and what's creating a lot of tension. I mean, being displaced is one thing, And so like the criteria could be like way different too.
Yeah, we
Before I'm just
do.
thinking,
We do
yeah,
have like a uh, it's very situational. Like depending on what the circumstances were, we are very conscious of that as well.
because like
Oh,
I've done a few. Oh, you. I told you she didn't want to leave. We didn't want to leave. We're talking about
yeah,
motivation today, Ab. So,
yeah. It's
we're
kind of
talking
funny
about
that I didn't
we're
even
talking
know
about
that.
motivation, shame, and the concept of preconceived notion. And we've
Yeah,
touched a little bit about some of our thoughts over the last couple weeks. And now Spoicy's bringing up something interesting because it's like he's working with the homeless and trying to create a system that is a little bit more strong arming into like you got to do this or nothing's ever going to get better, and it's creating a lot of tension and anxiety. Yeah, isn't that it though? Like
yeah. It creates
sometimes
tension.
sometimes it's like you either don't know that things exist out there for you or you've never been allowed to do things. So there's all these other problems that I can see in it. I've been in a lot of therapy where I don't think it's is strong enough as far as the motivation. Like sometimes I just want the person to be like, "Hey, I'm going to see you in a week. Write down this shit and we'll talk about it next week." Cuz like a lot of
Yeah.
times we're like we're doing here, we're all over the place. What the fuck? Oh, an ad was playing.
Speaking of
Sorry.
the ad.
Um an ad's playing.
Mm-hmm. Thank
So,
you.
yeah, so the ad fucking distracted me. Fuck you, ad.
Wait, you're helping me with this podcast here, Dreamers. So you shouldn't have to have ads.
Huh?
You shouldn't have to have ads. I'm not allowing that. You're not getting ads
It's fine.
anymore.
I talk
No
too loud.
no more ads. No
What?
no more ads for Dreamers Arcade.
It's my fucking birthday. Thank
So
you.
I
And
just
then I go, and then I'm gonna show off all my wealth.
yeah.
Oh, I could change. You can change your color now in the chat.
You always could, and that's for everybody everywhere. Do you like being purple?
Oh, I don't know. I had
Yeah.
purple like the
Now
missus.
you're orange. It looks like
I just changed it to orange.
nice.
Fuck with that, and then
All right, so
oh, it
this
doesn't.
I've completely speaking of like having more structure. I've completely disregarded the structure that I'd set for myself last time we did this.
No, you didn't.
So allow me to give myself a little bit of
No, you
a little
didn't.
bit of things we can edit. Yes, to those of you that are just joining us, welcome to Coffee and Contemplation. We are currently talking about motivation, shame, and the idea of a preconceived notion. A lot of these things connect in many ways, and then some of them are very separate from each other as well. Sorry, separate from each other. There goes my brain trying to sound smart. I'm here with CP Sketch.
This guy.
This is going to become more of a staple on
Hello.
this Coffee and Contemplation stream where CP is going to bounce off of me and vice versa. On these
Bounce
topics.
off you.
Yeah, bounce off of me. Yeah. Which is why we now have the video of CP Sketch on the physical version of the podcast as well.
If you want to look at two creepy bearded dudes at the same time, now you can on Friday.
Yeah. Friday morning. You know you want to talk to two bearded dudes about interesting concepts.
Yeah. Welcome to Mansplaining 101.
Empathy, understanding, and so on. So, Floody, we touched on the idea of autonomy is a big one, though. Like you talk about being strong-armed and pushed. I love that concept because like some people will completely disregard all factors of their betterment just to avoid being told to do something. Just to go,
Yeah,
oh, you told me to do that. Okay, I'm not going to do it now. Or it's
that's
like
part of
something
their views.
yeah, you wanted to do it, and now someone's telling you to do it. Nope, now it's gone. You don't want to do it anymore.
But you know how you get them doing stuff?
Reverse psychology. Nope, sorry. Just joking.
No, it's true. Resentment.
Yeah, you'd build their own resentment.
You piss them off, and eventually they're going to resent you, and then they'll be like, I'll do this to spite them, and then they'll do something that like works for them. So,
Yeah.
it works and it doesn't work, but yeah, you can't motivate people who are unmotivated.
Yeah.
Like you go into therapy, and if it's like, if you go to therapy weekly, every 2 weeks, monthly, whatever it is, and you're going in the next session with absolutely nothing, maybe you want to talk about some stuff, but like vibing about pissed off at this person is good. I could do that with you. I could do that, I could just do it on Twitch. But it wastes up a lot of time. So you only have an hour.
Exactly.
You want to go in there and be like, well, we're gonna, like this podcast, we will dance around and we'll go in all kinds of different directions. Now, if we knew we just had an hour and we would bullet point this thing every 15 minutes to make sure it works, but we don't have an hour. Well, we do today. We don't have an hour normally. So having, like I always say, having intention is important. But yeah, it is tough to have that motivation, because I wish a lot of times that counselors were just like, can we just get to this, please?
Yep. Bloody actually just touched on something really important that we were talking about a bit before, is that I actually did encounter someone, Floody, who was they were so intent to fail. They were so sure that they were going to fail that they weren't even getting close to the point where they were trying. Like he had this moment where we were just trying to get them to realize that they have to make a decision and move in a direction. And just the very thought of that, there was so much fear built up around failing that they had already decided that they had already failed. Like their brain had already been put into the place where they gave up. And that's where the strong arm method, I feel, is to me that feels like the only place where you can do the strong arm method, because I had to look at this person in the eye and say, you already decided that you have failed. And they tried to say, oh no, I don't feel that. I said, you literally just told me everything that has already happened, but these are things you haven't even started on yet. Like these are things you haven't even made the phone calls, you haven't even put in the applications, you haven't even, like, you can't say that it's over when you haven't even started. Like that's the only place where the strong arm method, I feel, is like, that's when you take off the gloves, so to speak. That's when you take the initiative of, okay, this person is so far down that hole that they don't even see a way out anymore. And you got to sort of show them the way out, and in many cases force them onto that path. But when from a therapy standpoint, you don't want someone to be forced into stuff from a therapy standpoint, though. I don't think when it comes to like paying your bills and getting a job and things like that, that's a little different.
Well, have I ever talked to you about post-traumatic stress, like personally, like myself?
No, that's a whole nother side of it too, that I do want to hear what you have to say on that, because I personally don't suffer from any post-traumatic stress, so I don't know how that affects motivation from a personal standpoint.
So everything you're saying, unfortunately I can relate to a lot of it, because there is that idea of like, well, how are you going to get better when you haven't even started? There's a lot of stuff that will put walls up. Things like imposter syndrome, thinking you don't belong, thinking you could never do something. I could never do that. Saying things like the word never.
Oh yeah, speaking in absolutes is something that I've fought since I was a teenager to try to stop, but it's funny how your brain just naturally will consider something as absolute.
Yeah, and my dad still does it to this day, so I know, like, I learned a lot of this stuff behaviorally. Unfortunately, I'm always trying to figure out what's behavioral, what's biological. And so the difference is, if I have ADHD and I don't produce enough dopamine to my brain, then that's just a biological thing. And the only thing that's going to really fix that is probably a medication, stabilize it. Then there's
Mm-hmm.
a thought that somebody told me that I'll also repeat as fact. Think that's reality, but it's not. It's behavioral. Somebody taught me that these are the rules. These are the rules for you, and this is where you stay. So trying to figure out the difference between behavioral and biological is a pain in the ass.
Yep.
But then leaning into post traumatic stress, uh, I don't have a diagnosis with a post traumatic stress disorder.
Oh, okay.
I haven't really gotten into it. But I come from a lot of abuse and backwards thinking. I know this because I have grandparents who are almost a century old, boomer parents who are now 70, middle-aged guy that we've all living very regimented behavioral ideology here, said and carried forth throughout the generations. And it's inaccurate and negative and detrimental to motivation and progression. So I need to figure out personally if I have the post traumatic stress issue, and then I need to go through it all. And I'm scared as fuck because I've had a lot of substance abuse problems because I will just shut off those parts,
Mm-hmm.
distract myself.
Bloody, I'm loving the
So,
interaction. So,
yeah.
so Floody said, I was in a very deep depression once, unemployed, no will left, could not handle to look at other people. I was in a very dark place. So I had a job counselor who kind of took away any choice, but in a friendly way. He took away me having to take any choices. Meet up there, work from then to then, and we have a weekly meeting with the counselor on top, and it was exactly what I needed. We were a manager at the same company that you were forced to work at. See, yeah, that's a good example of where that works. When someone is at the very rock bottom and they don't see any choices, you force them to have a choice. You force them to see the choice and basically kind of give it to them. And that's the friendly way to do it too. Is you give them the choice. You say, "Hey, we're gonna do this because it is an option for you," but you don't see it as an option.
A good example of that would be me in my late 20s. I think when I was 29, I went to college, got my art degree. And if it wasn't for ABSO being like, yeah, I'm going to school. Like, why can't you go to? Like, yeah,
Yep.
I'm like, that's not a place for me. Like, I
You'd
was just
already.
I was just like, not that I don't value education, just that was in my family. That's just, you just don't do that, man. We're working dudes, like
Oh,
college,
yep.
people. If you live in the New England area, you might actually know this to be quite true, especially in the older generations and palling around the hardware store. You don't. You hear him be like, "Hey, look at this guy, college boy over here. He's got the answers." You'll hear like an insult about it. Uh, and
Mm.
it's interesting, like to be educated.
Yeah.
Yeah, college boy. It's like that's not a bad thing to know stuff. Like, good information is
It's so
really
funny.
important.
I had the
But
opposite experience, CP. That's fascinating.
really,
I had the opposite experience. Yeah, I had everyone in my life kept forcing me to go to college and saying you have to go to college, you have to do this. It's the right thing to do. You go to college, you get a degree. But then when I got out of college, I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable when I got out of college, and I looked at all my friends who went into a trade instead and saw their lives flourishing while I was struggling to pay bills. I was like, man, why the hell? Why didn't I just learn everything from YouTube?
yeah, the system flipped.
Yeah.
Like the funny thing is, my line of work now, like that technical and trade, and those were like it was dog shit as far as I'm concerned. When I first started out, and it's grown so much, and it's becoming so much more of a lucrative and easier to run business. Like I never. That's the other thing. Never thought I would do. Like I worked with my father a lot, and I still do. But it was under his ownership. He'd
Mhm.
find the jobs and knew the people. But yeah, I started to pick up some of those customers. Some of the jobs he didn't want, and I'm getting out there enough, and I'm at a point now where I'm literally running a business. I'm doing like what my father did. I never thought I could do that, but in time, you just got used to it. So that's one thing to be positive and thankful about. Like in time, if you stick with something long enough, and the older you get, you will figure out ways to make it easier, and it'll feel a lot more natural. Throwing yourself into maybe something like college.
A social media post recently tipped off a really, really fascinating concept of everything is figure outable. So what the phrase was, everything is figure outable, and I'm like, huh. So if you spend enough time on something and you do the research, there's probably a human out there that has done it before or attempted to, and you can learn from them. And then also you can just try it. You just do it and you can figure it out. But oftentimes we are paralyzed by our need to know how to do it before doing it. But how did the first person learn?
Weren't scared of fucking up.
Yeah. So just go into every project with the idea in your head that everything can be figured out.
Or that one thing that helped me is the result doesn't have to be perfect.
Right.
It's a learning experience, and if you do it and it doesn't come out perfect, or it's a half-assed version, then you realize like maybe I could go back in and change it. You have the opportunity to continue to work on something, but yeah, you have to really be confident enough to fail.
Yeah. But if we gotta exaggerate it a little bit though, because don't be confident to fail if there's no doctors around and the person you're trying to help um needs surgery. Like don't try to figure that out.
Well, I mean, yeah, dude, I'd like to think that we have enough bells and whistles in place that people aren't walking off the street like, dude, you got to do emergency surgery. Nobody, I know you've never done it before, but we don't have doctors.
That'd be so funny to me that if there was a YouTube video like, all right, hey guys, welcome to my channel. Please like and subscribe. Today we're gonna do open heart surgery.
Yeah. Full disclaimer, chat. I didn't go to medical school, but I did play Surgeon Simulator for a good summer.
Yeah.
Got an app and a YouTube video to help me to do the moves right.
That's something like just download my just sign up for my 10-month course and you too can learn how to do.
Oh, you want to get snake oil salesman, dude?
Oh my good God.
Snake oil salesman. We're starting to really
Have you seen some of these? Have you seen some of these? Oh my God, this is way getting off track, but I've been getting like actually visibly mad at these online coaches.
Oh, but they I mean, all you got to do is come to Coffee and Contemplation for free every Friday, and you'll get all your insight that you need for the week. Trust us.
Yes, we look.
Free of charge.
Full disclaimer: we are not experts, but
I've had a lot of therapy.
Yep, I've had very little therapy.
Oh, you're young still.
I know, it's true. I want more, but
mine was more substance abuse when I was younger in my 20s. But yeah, I didn't do anything. I don't know. I got into therapy more around when I was your age. Now I've been rocking.
Oh, I see.
Got the wife into it. Got the cats coming along.
How's the cat therapy going?
Well, pretty good. They got that Galaxy guy coming over later.
Jackson Galaxy's coming for an on call.
He's gonna teach me how to slow blink my cats to ecstasy.
You gotta slow blink your cats. It's not a sexual thing.
I don't know what it is. It's a comfort thing, right?
It's trust. Like if you can close your eyes around them, then And that means you
Put
you
your
trust them to not attack you.
put their head up.
That's why I'm always scared when a cat doesn't slow blink back to me, because I'm like, oh, does that mean that you would attack me if
Now,
my
see,
eyes were
and
closed?
there's that ADHD thing. When you know a cat's probably gonna fuck with you, but you still feel compelled to touch it. There you go.
Yep.
I
Same.
can't.
Yeah.
Abso's always like, stop touching them. They're overstimulated. But I keep creeping back in. I don't know why I can't stop. And that's
They're overstimulated. Yep.
my cousin said he got diagnosed with a bipolar disorder, and
Oh wow.
he said that what will happen with him is he'll engage in something that he knows is broken or wrong to the point where he'll obsessively get into it and it will like start to destroy him. Kind of that idea of like, I know the cat's going to scratch me, but I pet it anyway. I know this thing's breaking and getting worse and I can't stop working on it. So I'm going to keep spiraling until I make it worse and worse and worse. And I fucking lose my mind.
Yeah. That happens
Yeah.
with neurotypical people too. It's just a
Yeah,
much smaller scale.
Yeah. That's why I brought it up, because it happens to me to a certain capacity. But my cousin's also in that family. He also has the same behavioral style of,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like, I don't know what it is, like why you wouldn't give something up. That's something we can figure out. Why you would just destroy something. Is it like an expression of your pain? Are you like showing your suffering, like by continually destroying it more and more?
I think it is. I think it could very well be an expression of self, like self-expression. It could be something along the lines of that's the only way that they've ever been noticed by people in their life. A lot of my reductive thoughts always go towards upbringing and nurturing and nature, but I recognize that not every situation can be explained that way.
Yeah.
But my immediate thought on that subject is that that's the way that they got attention when they were a kid, was breaking things. And a way to give them self-attention in their consciousness and their current existence is to break stuff. I don't feel alive unless I'm breaking things, because that's the only way I was allowed to feel alive when I was a kid.
Yeah, and with me, a lot of times things could be going really good. I'd just like start drinking a lot, and then I'd let my life fall apart, fall, hit the bottom. Hey, look, I can look up, and now I know exactly where I have to go. There's no FOMO, fear of more options, fear of doing the wrong thing. I've bottomed out to where I've created a linear path. But also, hey, man, people are talking to me again. Like, they see that I'm upset or in pain, and fucked up way to connect with people. But when it's the only way that people have connected with you, like, you'll just get in the pattern. Like, every few years, I'd wonder why I'd like kind of self-destruct, and it's like, you get attention, and it creates a linear path because you don't know where you're going half the time, and after 3 years,
Crazy C said, thought you were talking about trying to fix a section of pipes, but it's so rushed that you repair the first, break a few a new spot breaks or a new place breaks. So that's
good.
Kind of both though. Like that's we're talking about self-destructive behavior, but at the same time, there are people out there that will rush an actual physical project that they're working on and break it due to like that's just how things went. And maybe that'd be very subconscious though, I think, for it to actually enact in the physical world. I don't think that it's impossible though. I think there's probably situations where people have broken actual things that they're physically touching or working on because somewhere in their brain that's the path to a solution, or like the only path to a solution in some cases.
Yeah, and now we're getting into something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. It's pathways of the brain. So,
You get from one place to another.
Yeah, if anyone's ever seen a brain,
Seen a brain.
A photo.
Not in real life. We could bring up a photo of a brain.
But the brain has those grooves. Groovy. Groovy, baby.
If the brain is pretty groovy.
Yeah. But those grooves, pathways. And you make those based on experiences. And when you walk a path, right, it create more of the path, grooves, more of the footprints. When you walk a path over and over, eventually that becomes the channel that you will constantly flow through. Given that decision, you're going to shoot down a certain pathway. Now that pathway could be complete dog shit, make you make a lot of bad decisions. I'm off to some other place. But to dig another pathway beside that is it's a lot to ask.
Yeah, our brain gets used to like I can't remember who said this. It was some neurologist found that it's almost like walking through a field of grass. The more you walk along the same path, the more the grass gets tamped down and an actual path forms. But trying to form a new path and have it behave just as well as the old one is incredibly difficult. I love that analogy.
And I've been thinking about it a lot lately because book 3, Dreamer's Arcade. This is out. I'm just starting to. You have to start somewhere. So I decided I'm going to make an 8-book series. I haven't written one of them, but now I know it's 8 books, and now I'm starting to know like what books, what book at least, even if I haven't done it. And I'm getting excited about book 3. Book 3 is going to be my favorite book. Now I'm like, do I just start with book 3? Like, and would it be better for me to write book 3 and then go back and write book 1? Not like put it out that way, but just for me and getting my shit together, it might help because there's so much that defines me in book 3 that I could go on and on and on. And one of those things I just discovered about it is the idea of pathways. So book 3 stems. It's basically me in my 20s around then and dealing with what you're supposed to do as an adult, moving into that realm. What are the options that have limited you as far as growing up or and making certain decisions, choosing things like drinking with a certain social group of people who are all aligned, and then that becomes this current in which I go on. So it's about my friend I grew up with and how we both were just nerdy kids and played a bunch of games together. And then we started drinking together later in life. And then I lost contact with him. And I don't really know what's happened. And I could dig it up, but I just decided to move on. And sometimes I don't want to know. Like I found that I dug for a bunch of answers and I found other stuff that I didn't want to, and it was hard. So for me, I climbed to the surface and just left it. And I was like, I wish the best for you, and I hope that you're not down there anymore. But I had to go to the surface.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's it's about like not letting people hold you back too. Even though they're like your old friends. But the whole thing is all dig dug. I've told you this before.
Yeah.
It's about these guys mining. Just you're mining, and it's about the experience of mining and being in an underground, and being closed in with this person, and trying to find other spots. And then there are monsters, basically,
You're monsters. There are monsters in your mind.
They're the monsters that have kept us in this spot, but also are stuck here with us. And the system of what it is to be born on the lower echelon of things, and then how that system's governed, and then how it really digs away and undermines, and it falls lower and lower and lower. And then in the case of pathways, just came up with this really interesting thing. It's just like guy just digging and digging and digging and digging, and we making this We make this valley and we become safe, not caving in anymore. Monsters, and we're completely safe. And a river of alcohol flows beneath us.
Oh wow.
And it's like, well, we can stay here forever, man. Like, can't go up. We cannot climb that anymore. Yeah, but we stay down here, we're safe. We can stay here forever. We get all the beer we want.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do this anymore, man. I'm going wall. You know what's in through the wall? It's just the monsters and all the stuff, and I have to go through and re-experience. That's the idea of post-traumatic stress. Figure these things out and leave certain things behind to get out. But when it zooms out and it keeps zooming out when we're having this conversation, realize the mind is a brain. Us digging a pathway in our own brains to believe this is where we're
trying to get out.
Yeah, we've dug our own physical, psychological pathway.
That's awesome.
The lake of alcohol. We'll just stay here forever because it's safer.
It's safer in the lake of alcohol.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's all you know.
Analogy. I love that analogy. You got to dig yourself out. It does sometimes feel like that too. It feels like you're pushing away soil, like it's that physically exertive, like it's that difficult to actually get out. I found myself in a very similar situation to that very recently, actually a couple days ago, where I was finding myself getting trapped in what I like to call an anxious. Sorry, this is an actual term too in the psychological field. Anxious attachment style, where I get anxious if someone isn't like paying attention to me or talking to me that often, and it's just like that's something that I have to push.
Or do you push too much?
That's something I have to dig out of, though. I have to dig myself out of it. Like all that stuff gets piled on, all those thoughts, the intrusive thoughts that aren't true, but my brain and myself even are trying to convince me that they are true, that they are real, and I have to. It takes a lot of physical exertion. I was so exhausted last night before doing my stream because of not only was I at work having to do so much stuff that I normally don't do at my job. By the time I got home, I had all this weight of these thoughts that I couldn't attend to. It's like, hey, you're not at work anymore. Can we have a say now? And they just piled on like intensely. And I had to literally, like, it felt like take a shovel. It just felt like I had to take a shovel and actually start digging and digging and digging. And then until by the time it was time for the stream to start, I was exhausted. And that time I was going to use to take a nap was taken up by digging myself out of these thoughts so that I could be in a better headspace for the things I want to do for my life.
One thing that people don't realize about having this type of brain, it is exhausting because it doesn't shut down as much as it should probably. It's overly critical on things where it doesn't need to be, expending energy on much side stuff. I totally feel your pain.
That explains your facial expression. So I could sense that you'd been there.
Yeah, it is really exhausting. I don't want to think about all of this stuff, and I think that's where therapy helps to say, like, you don't need to think about this, or you don't.
Therapy is actually the reason that I was able to even do that digging.
Yeah,
like that's what I learned when I went to therapy, was how to get over my anxious attachment style.
I'm needy too, like that too.
What did you learn in therapy from that? Along those lines.
Which part?
Of the like, what did it give you? Like, say before therapy, I was digging with my hands, and after therapy, I felt like I was digging with an excavator. Like I had a much better tool to get out of those thoughts.
Good therapy, man. I'm still rocking a shovel.
Yeah, the like what she taught me with anxious attachment style was that you have voices in your head. You have these characters that aren't yours. Like it's not actually your story. It's these characters in your head that are telling you that that's the story, and you have to.
Yeah, this type of therapy too is so tough for me because, like, what you just said there is something that I struggle with. When people are like, you've got these voices in your head that are telling you these stories, and then they're like, do you hear voices? And it's like, what's the
Oh,
fucking difference? Like, I need the clarification. Would I
okay.
hear an
The
audible
the
physical voice?
difference. So the difference is that it's the voice that you think is you. That I love that you asked that question because my therapist actually did answer that question. I said, "Doesn't that make me
Okay.
more crazy if I'm hearing voices?" And she said, "No, no, you have to discern that the voices that a schizophrenic hears are actually other voices. Like it's another person's voice that they're hearing. But when you talk about an inner voice or an inner critic, it is essentially it's still you, but it's a version of you that thinks you're a fuck up, or it's a version of you that thinks that something bad is going to happen. And so I have like a council around a table in my head of it's me in different costumes. Like I have the hero,
Oh, oh.
I have the general, I have the scientist, and all of them have an opinion. But I had to come up with a new character that slams his hand down on the table and says, "Guys, shut the fuck up. I got this."
You needed like a Negan, like to
I did.
come
I
in.
needed a
I'm
I
gonna
needed a
shut this
Negan.
shit
Like,
down.
guys, stop complaining. Like he had to like turn to the scientist and say, "Hey, you don't need to know everything. You don't need to figure out everything." He had to turn to the hero and say, "They don't need saving. They can save themselves. You can just be there for them." He had to turn to the general and say, "Calm down. You're not under attack. You're fine." You know, like there's all these. That's what I had to do. It's gonna be different for everyone. But for me, that's
But
what worked for me. Like to put characters, because the writer in me have these actual characters be like tamped down. Like guys, chill.
so this is cool. The last time I met with my person, I brought up a couple concerns, and it's what I had said earlier. I go, do I have? I don't know what the post traumatic stress issue is. Like, I haven't dug much into it, and I know there's an impact, and it's a lot. And I want to start figuring this stuff out. And so, her job as a counselor, she's like, "Yeah, we have people who will work with you. It's like you just have to determine whether you're ready."
Oh.
And because it's a lot. And I go, yeah, I mean, it was a lot like last year. And I took this break off. I took this break and I got a lot of my life really together. But
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of creeping depression after the fact. And I was like, what's going on? Well, there's these elements of things that still aren't working, stuff that works. I have to acknowledge the stuff that works, but um
It's important.
and be grateful for what I have done over the last year. But uh yeah, we have to figure out what's going to work. And I said, how do they do this? And they she said it's mostly writing, which is good. And I said, well, what I want to do with the Dreamers Arcade stuff is to maybe in a narrative way, semi autobiographical, work through issues. Maybe it's safer, maybe it's more play like if I can step out of it, but maybe that's not good too. So I was concerned, like, and I've been
Oh, yeah.
working out these things, like as far as traumatizing myself. I'm fragile, dude. I'm just, I'm this big giant dude, but like,
Well, here's something that
there's not much that just, I could get set off, like really.
yeah. Your therapist may have touched on this before as well, but the real secret to life is that we all are fragile. Like everybody is fragile.
And allowing yourself to be that's hard sometimes too.
It is.
That's
Well,
not intuitive to me.
especially with
Um,
like you told me a bit about the upbringing that you had. That what it sounds like is that you've had similar experiences to me, where you had a lot of people telling you it's not okay to cry, it's not okay to feel your feelings,
yeah, yeah.
and that story is resounding throughout society right now. Actually, that a lot of people have experienced that, of all genders, of all backgrounds. That a lot of people make it seem like it's just not okay to feel your emotions. And that's bullshit. Because, like, why do we feel them then if it's not okay to feel them?
Yeah, it definitely is okay to feel, and because you have to have a good way to manage them. And if people are saying, don't
Mhm.
feel shit, dude, don't
Yeah.
feel, be tough about it,
Mm-hmm.
you're just gonna not know how to operate yourself. Then it's like, yeah, be tough, or in our case, be a man. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but like, isn't it like more respectful and dignified to be a man who like has their shit together? Like they can acknowledge that this is upsetting, and whether they emote to it or not, they have the sense
Mhm.
to work on this and make a change. Who's more respectful in my eyes? It's the person who's said having the value and actually doing the deed. Very
Actually,
admirable.
taking the time.
Yeah. So, like, tell people not to, don't feel anything. Like, well, okay, don't feel, fuck it. Like, don't feel anything. And let's just beta block our way through the whole life like machines. I don't want to be like a
Mhm.
machine. I love to feel stuff. And I think that's a lot of my
Butterflies.
depression. I've been not
Who,
allowed.
who will blame me? I assume that means that you were lurking. Welcome in. I appreciate you.
Who will
Okay.
blame me?
Helicopter comes in. I'm here to help. Never mind. There's no enemies. Helicopter flies away. So
Welcome.
we're currently digging pretty deep on
Pathway.
what can kill your motivation is what we're getting on. It's like if someone tries to tell you that you're not allowed to feel your feelings, then what really happens to your life there? How do you get better if you're not even allowed to analyze your
You
own
do
feelings?
drugs.
That
That's what
no,
happens.
no.
No, but I'm saying don't do, chat. Don't actively do that. And you may already, and I don't judge you if you do, but I understand the nature of why substance abuse and mental illness are so much like hanging out at the family reunion, because they're brothers. They definitely work together quite well. They complement each other.
They hang
Very
out.
nice. They definitely hang out. They've been hanging out for a really long time. So if I'm like, hey, if I can toughen up, you're going through this shit, whoever, um, just don't deal with that. Like it'll pass. Yeah, it will, maybe, but it'll also pass back around, and it's going to circle your life like a damn moon. And yeah, or is the moon? You're the space guys. The moon orbit. Who orbits who?
The
Here
lar-
we
the
are.
the larger gravitational object is the
Orbiter.
no, other way around.
Okay.
Smaller, the less. Sorry, it's more. It's too complicated. it's The funny thing
Wow.
is they've actually
Wow. I just
found.
fucking stumped him. I just stumped him. Like
Well,
he
it's
doesn't even
because
know if the moon goes around the sun, or the sun goes around the earth, or
oh,
no idea.
well,
Space.
there's planets out
Space.
there that are larger than the star they are orbiting, but they're less dense, and that's why they're orbiting around that star. Like it's too big of a question. Is the problem? Like
Oh,
it's more
I
about
was just
mass
talking
and
about the
density.
moon, dude.
The
I don't
moon,
need to know.
the moon orbits the Earth. Like if you want that
There
answer,
you go. There you go.
okay, yeah,
See, I see what happened to you there, dude. See those more
yeah,
options? You're like, I gotta fucking start though and talk about other shit that's more complicated, because it's important. It is actually very valuable and important, because what you're presenting is the information gonna progress things forward. You're not just doing a rote thing where it's like I memorize facts, and I appreciate that a lot. But it's also tough when you're like, I'm gonna start at like the craziest point in this,
yeah,
reel my way back, and it's like, no, just say the moon goes around. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm
yeah,
saying. It's that's just a fucked up way that our brains not neurotypical.
yep,
I
for
and I
real.
the good thing is, you see this though, and I don't mean to pick on you or call on you. I'm just identifying that because I can finally
Hmm.
see it after a year. Like I know all the shit. I'm like, oh, oh, yeah.
There it is. There
So
it is. We see it
it's
there.
beneficial
Oh,
to
oh.
identify it. If it ever gets too tedious, be like, CP, shut up.
Like
I
I
know I
know,
got it.
I know. I got the 80. CP says that I don't know what HD is, but CP says I got 80 of them bitches. Sorry, I love that. That's a meme. That's not
Wow,
it's
dude.
not my own thing.
Yeah, that's not even his joke. That's not even his joke. He admitted it.
No, it's not my joke.
He couldn't write something else, right?
I'm gonna always admit if something isn't my joke.
Fair enough.
Credit where credit is due, and
Well, you made us weird.
non-credit where credit is due as well.
I used to have this brother-in-law. I still have him. I just don't fucking talk to him because he's kind of a dink. And he would just say like, oh shit, what the hell were we talking about? I got
The
caught up in the
jokes?
emotion. Huh?
The jokes, memes.
Oh yeah, yeah. And like, I'd always say something, and like, I don't know, like some of my stuff is pretty original. Most of my stuff is pretty original. Like the stuff I joke about is, if I think like, I've borrowed probably some, I don't know, some
Well,
ideas, but for the most part, I will say original shit based on weird stuff that would make me laugh because I'm trying to entertain this head and not get bored a lot.
yeah.
So I'm initiating my own, like, getting high on my own supply kind of thing. And so I'll talk, and he would always be like, "Oh, where'd you get that?" Say something. What do you mean?
Yeah.
What show did you see that on?
Oh yeah,
Basically,
that's kind of
it's like, no, I'm not quoting a show, dude. I'm just
that's
making an
it's
observation
like
in real
mean.
time.
It's a little bit mean of him
But they don't have
to
the
assume.
ability to do that. So they're like, yeah, you must just regurgitate information. Some people literally just regurgitate information. You were saying,
I
I
used
think you
to.
said it earlier, like the people that need the rules. That
Yeah.
idea of what we were talking about coming back around to the beginning. There are people that need that to be told what to do all the time. And if you
Yep.
can condition a society to do that, you'll run it. That's what we've been leading up to.
Oh, I see. So it's where
Wow.
they're some Alex Jones shit there. No, I'm just kidding.
It's not some Alex Jones shit here.
I know.
This is okay.
I'm joking.
I'm not gonna go on an Alex Jones rant
Yeah. Okay.
because now people are thinking I'm like some crazy conspiracy theorist. See, now he's creating a narrative. This is the truth. This is the simple truth.
Truth.
Human beings used to be like wolves. We were animals. When shit would pop up, we had this
We're
animal
animals.
brain. We're animals. We'd have this animal brain. Would say, "Hey, for your self-preservation, fight or flight." That game, skate or die, fight or flight. It would just that's all your brain.
Do your
Or flight.
darndest to fight.
Yeah, you make a decision, and it's fucking instantaneous because it probably would mean you're gonna die that day. It's not like I'm gonna lose a promotion at the job, or I'm gonna get a cold batch of French fries if I show up late. Nah, this wolf's gonna eat me. I'm dead. So the stakes are high. While we develop these other parts that we were talking about earlier, the cortexes that create the pathways, those things are dog shit. Those are
They don't do
beta
well.
mode. They are beta mode
That's
hard.
that's your
And
that's your primal brain.
yeah, and so like we're not super huge steps up on the evolutionary ladder. We speak and we created all this. So it's like, oh, why didn't the wolves create all this shit? And if they've been around so
They don't
fucking
have
long,
thumbs. You better believe
that's
it. A
it.
wolf would make a weapon if it could.
Wolf would give a good wolf job if it had a good hand.
Wolf
So
job. God.
look it up.
No,
Anyway.
don't. Well, I'm not gonna tell you what to do, but it's just ridiculous. It's not even gross. It's
This is what the show's going to become. It's going to become like Space Viking trying to play the straight man, be like, dude, no, hold on a second, guys. Let's and then eyes off rails. No, we don't advocate drug use. No, and no, I didn't say that. Anyway, but he's very smart to be sensitive to people out there, and I appreciate that.
I got my finger on the pulse of society. No, no, not really.
Oh yeah, going back into it. So these wolves, and we built all this world, but we built this world because we're benefactors of the long game. We have a long life and a long history, and I don't know about you, but I couldn't take apart this computer monitor in front of me and put it back together so it worked right. Somebody can somehow because of the long game. We've just been we've just been piggybacking off people for all this time. And so we've created this world that's impressive, also destructive. We we are we super evolved things if we're going to
Yes.
something that is is going to just eat at the core of the natural planet that we live on. Yeah, I don't know. That's probably in question. But then the wolves, what did they do? Same thing as everything. They did the same things that we used to do. They just walked the fuck around and they got their food and they lived their life. That what do we do? We created a system of domestic living.
The
The
only thing holding
the
it
real
together is our agreement to hold it together.
yeah, the one thing you were talking about it last night with capitalism and stuff. The like, oh, can we give it up all tomorrow? No way, because the structure is such a part of the long game. You'd have to
Well,
be radical, like to get 8 billion people to simultaneously like, hey, we're gonna give it all up. We're gonna just walk out of these houses right now
yeah,
and say, I don't own any of this stuff. And if you come along, use that your own thing. And the same goes. Like we're just gonna be like walking around into each other's houses. Maybe you're staying there. Maybe it's abandoned. Who knows? But we're nomads again. Nothing is owned because the system of ownership has created all kinds of horrible things. Fear, violence, war,
yeah. Because
slavery.
what happens when you have something to lose?
Yeah, all this stuff doesn't
So
exist if a group of people just walked around. Yeah, sure, they could run into another tribe of people, be like, hey, fuck you, I'm taking your stuff, but you're all in the same world. Like, no, maybe just because I hate this guy, but generally I know that they're out there doing the same thing and there's a commonality. And I would think things would gel a lot better as opposed to someone one day they were like, I don't have to hunt animals anymore. And
I
I don't
don't
have
want.
to
You know what? I don't
I don't
want
have
to.
storage. Yeah, I can put this one in a pen and I can grow the vegetables right here. Look around for
Yeah.
me. We can have a base. What would
Oh
that
man,
base do?
I could sell these. I could sell these vegetables.
Yeah, I could trade them, sell them. Fortunately, the base run by farmers, agrarian type folks, and there was groups of hardcore dudes. Basically, you might know some of them. They got in boats and they just went around and hey, you've got stuff. I want your stuff.
Hey, that's a
Stuff.
misnomer.
I want your
They
stuff. I want my stuff.
they went to England because they couldn't grow any food on their land because it was winter in 6 months out of the year. And like
Viking
we
sympathy.
want some better land. And then the English were like, "Hey, you're on our land," and they're like, "Hey, we're explorers," and then they just got an arrow in the neck.
Isn't history subjective?
And then the English monks were like, "Oh crap, we attacked first. We better not make it look like that. We better call them savages right at the get go."
You tell me those monks on Saint Mont Michel fucking went retaliation?
That's
Ah!
how they played the long game. They retaliated with the long game.
And they did build a fortress, like up on a giant hill on the edge of the land.
That
Kind of hard to
fortress
get
was called Christianity. And they
to.
used
And
that
then you,
fortress to lord over everyone. No, just Sorry. Now I'm going conspiracy theory. No,
yeah,
there was a lot of misconceptions about the Vikings, but
yeah. I mean, that's
they were it depended on the clan. Like there were different Viking clans that were ruthless, that were completely just hell bent on the looting and pillaging. Then there were other clans that were like, "Hey, this land's pretty great. Let's trade with the English. Let's trade with the Middle Easterns. Let's trade with It's across the board. It's like,
Yeah, it's not defined black and white. If you were this group, we still do it today. It's very human today. Like if
yeah,
you're a Democrat, you're this. If you're Republican, you're this. No, if you're poor, you're this. If you're rich, you're this. None of that stuff's true. They're generalizations to make your life easier and to like expect like we were saying I think a couple weeks ago, the idea where it's like you say something general at a party as a feeler to be like, yeah, hey dude, I'm into art and stuff, and yeah, me too, or no, and then you just know that you're not connected. You keep it general to specific, and then a relationship comes out, but you can't assume case. But yeah, Vikings are going to take the bad name in this historical
yeah.
trail, but it was lots of people. It was always conquerors, and there's just a group of people.
Like, you know what my
Say the,
favorite historical fact is along those like preconceived notion lines?
uh,
Like we have a preconceived notion about there was a bunch of barbarians that burned Rome down, right? It was barbarians invaded Rome, got through the wall, and completely ruined Rome, and that's why Rome fell, right? That's the story we're told. There was recent evidence that just came up. I say recent, it was probably the last 20 years that they found this out, right? What's the oh my god crazy? I'm not sure what you're reacting to, but they they found out recently that the barbarians were hired by a prominent Roman senator
fucking
to
mercs, dude.
to raid Rome and dismantle it because they wanted it to be an empire. Little did they know that the barbarians also had some ambition. So they just kept going and
Side
raided
hustle.
and ruined the entire city instead, and dismantled
And we're
their
gonna
supply lines and dismantled their everything. It's like, wow, okay.
Brad, dude.
So Rome fell because of their own hubris. Rome didn't fall because a bunch of barbarians just decided to raid one day.
Now I'd say Rome fell because it domestic area that had stuff. Because if that didn't exist, people would just walk past because it'd just be a fucking field.
Yeah.
That's just my argument with things. It wasn't until we started having capital and creating the system that would become capitalism that we live in now. But just the idea of having things like I'm in an arcade right now. Come take my arcade, people. This makes me vulnerable.
They're coming
Not
for
that
your
it's the end
arcade,
of the
CP.
and not that it's the end of the world, but it's just and it's just stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I'm less and less attached to it. Oh, and speaking of which, you can kind of see in the background here.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe you can on that. It's kind of cleared out over there by the centipede stuff, and I'm ripping this wall apart over there and doing some stuff. But eventually, the arcade's being all redone. It's going to be a black light experience. Things are shifted around and moved, and tonight
Crazy.
we've got the Terminator machine in the background, and I might actually be doing the mod.
Yeah.
Recessing the screen. So that'll, if you see it now, it's flush. Next time you see it next week, it'll probably be set in back of the monitor.
Crazy. See, I'm not sure what you were OM-godding about, but I'll reiterate our disclaimer. We're not experts, so if I said anything that was like completely off, sorry. I don't know shit about. I don't know shit about fuck, man. I don't take me outside and put me out of my misery. I don't know anything.
Catch me outside. Catch me outside. How about that?
Catch me inside. I don't want to go outside.
Catch me inside. How about that? No, we don't know what the fuck we're talking about. No, we do. We're the new source. Form your ideology around us, and we will guide you on the path that you need to live.
If you are coming onto a podcast, a live stream, a YouTube video, looking for the definitive like fact about anything, then you're already on the wrong track. The
But
only
if
way
you're here for the but if you're here for the cute boys, you're on the right track.
the I will say this. So this I want you to actually take with you and treat it as something true. Is that the only ways that I have ever found abject truth on the internet is finding credible sources. If you find data or a fact anywhere and it's a sensationalized news article, please, for the love of God, find the source of the information. If there is no source on the article, they are lying to you and they're trying to get your clicks and your views and your attention, and they're trying to use that to gain money. Whatever
Okay.
fact you're seeing is probably either wrong or sensationalized, and your brain doesn't need that, especially if it's something that's trying to scare you.
It's the Space Viking warning of the day,
Yeah.
provided to you by CP's Rant of Capitalism.
If you want to know
And
why
don't
there's so much
get exploited.
misinformation in the world, yeah, don't be exploited.
Yeah. So if
Get-
you are going to go on the internet, I'll reiterate.
Yeah.
I don't, dude. News. Fuck.
Yeah. It's rough. It's rough out there. Even
I mean,
like the big news corporations you can't even trust anymore.
You ever watched
Like-
the movie Nightcrawler?
Yeah.
I
But
love that
I
movie.
haven't seen it in a long time though.
Watch Nightcrawler. No, not the action, not the superhero, but
Yeah.
it's Jake Gyllenhaal is a news reporter in it.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It might be on Netflix still. Watch it, guys. Come back, chat about it next week. Yeah, Nightcrawler is really cool view of news.
Like how news can be manipulated.
Yeah, check it out. And yeah, I mean, funny thing is, okay, so we're talking about the news. Abso met with the news yesterday at 9 a.m. Via Zoom.
Yeah.
And I've had encounters with the news and been in the paper and for like certain community things, and people always like, I saw you in the paper, blah blah blah. And it's always like we live in a world where you can be on the internet every hour on the hour and post pictures. But if you put yourself in like a physical newspaper, oh whoa, you've done it. Well, much like anything, they have a job to do and they need to tell stories. And so I run across them. And every time I've run across them, it's just like it's never planned. It's like they just happen to be out there and you're the person that's just standing there.
Yeah.
And they're trying to frame a small article that hits these bullet point criteria in the way that they write. So they're trying to reaction or create more news. They want to impress their boss like anybody. So Abso's on the Zoom call and she's like, I felt so nervous. I didn't want to get misquoted. I was like the dude's Zoom picture looked like Jason Momoa. I don't think he's gonna be like trying to dig for information. He's probably pretty like open-minded. Basically, I was calling him, he had that vibe. So I was like, yeah,
Jason Momoa.
Yeah, he was real thirst trapping.
Oh, I see.
I wish he had his video up. Anyway, he's going through and doing the story, but he's trying to figure out his job, and she's worried about saying the wrong thing. So it's almost like when you talk to those people, you are facilitating their job, and it's a co-collaboration. You're writing their article with them, so keep that in mind. They're gonna take your craziest quote, one that's most impactful, like emotionally. Like I told her, I was like, "Oh, mention your own personal respiratory problems." That might be a thing. Why am I talking to this person, and why don't they want it? Then it's like making it human, connecting. She's like, I don't know if I was like, no, it's important to do, like, because you're a specific individual, and it's just stuff that people don't quite know the orders of operation, because the news is it's job, and it's just
It's ultimately trying to make money for the most part. That's why local news, I imagine, is a bit easier to deal with, though. Is this a local news outlet?
This was, yeah. We had a Fox News here days ago, but everybody missed them.
Everybody missed them? What do you mean?
Oh no, actually, no. We had someone who was like super liberal down the road who actually threw them out. You're if you're leaning hard left and Fox News comes around, you're automatically gonna be like, "Fuck off," like because they're
Yeah.
polar. But I mean, I'm centered, so it's like I'd just be like, all right, I'd be wary of what I said to them because I know they could swing it if they wanted
Yeah.
to do the other side. So I do have to start talking a lot of shit to a news reporter. Oh yeah, this fucking the world's falling in. Like they're gonna you're gonna be like a meme, you know.
They're going to be like, quick, put more cameras on this guy.
This guy's gonna run for public office, you know.
Yeah.
Makes money off it. His 15 minutes of fame. Auto tune him a
See,
few times.
I have to check my echo chamber once in a while because I lean very hard left, and all the stuff that I follow and pay attention to online, it's been curated to me now. So some of the stuff that comes out, I have to sort of like look at it from a different lens to make sure I don't get stuck in my echo chamber.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, wait a minute, this
Well, that's
sounds,
why I don't talk.
This sounds, huh?
That's why I don't like to talk a lot of politics because yeah, especially with people in agreement, because there's no point. It's
Yeah.
like to develop new ideas and things like that. That's one thing, or you're bored, you're just shooting the shit. But you already agree.
Yeah. I get wary of those conversations. I actually don't like it when talking with someone and every other sentence starts with "yeah, right." I know, right? And I'm just like, "Oh shit. I'm not learning anything from this conversation. This is someone who just agrees with me completely. I'm not learning anything."
Yeah, if you're like developing ideas, um, yeah, and I just don't like when people are like really like guys. That's why I think it's interesting because I would say the same thing. I would say when I was younger, I I was I would say I leaned a lot more. I'd say in general I lean a lot more
Hmm.
artist and
One,
shit. Makes
what's really
sense.
great is when you have like my significant other, my girlfriend. We actually don't agree on a lot of different things,
Oh,
which is
this is the conversation I want to hear.
something that I love is that it's like there, but these things are mostly trivial. We get along. We agree on some of the really major things like values and the way that we view like the political spectrum and things like that. I think the last time we had a difference of opinion on something important was the people don't want to work anymore mentality was a big one that we did not agree on. Like I feel like people do want to work, they just don't want to be exploited. And then she had the mindset of people just don't want to work in general, and like that's why there's less workers. You know. She also
Oh,
had a lot of agreements on that though. Like I'm not bad mouthing her when it comes to this.
and I went to the
Cumberland.
old Cumberland Farms, bud.
Yeah,
Morning,
bud.
and the
Wicked.
guy working there, he straight up admitted, "I don't want to work."
Yeah.
Hey, at least you admit it.
I don't. But when someone says they don't
But he's there
want to
working.
work,
He's there working. That's the funny
yeah,
part.
I don't think people really say. I don't think they really mean they don't want to work when they say they don't want to work. I think what they're saying is they don't want to work there. They don't want to work for that person or that company, or they don't want to. Like a lot of people that don't want to work want to just continue to improve their lives, and then continuing to improve your life takes work.
Man,
But you want to feel the progress. If you're like constantly paying bills and constantly working to pay those bills, I don't think that actually feels like progress in our psyche. I don't think that
never.
actually feels like purpose. Yeah.
It's a trap,
Yeah.
and it's a trap. I was talking about that on the ride in with Abso today.
Trap. Yeah.
A trap. I mean, we have to be careful, and this is
Mhm.
what I talk about with the domestic uh world that we lived in. By putting all our shit in one place and putting, eventually we put. So this is the history. We put our stuff in one place. People who didn't have our stuff just could go over and take it. Why did they do it? They didn't know how to do it. Hey, we made it easy for them. And why wouldn't they? Like, wow, I've been walking around for years. Now these people are starting to consolidate their shit. Well, fuck this. I'm taking it. Taking
Yep.
everything.
We had to have a
And that's where
government to protect our shit.
yeah, and that's where we get that political problems in our ideology getting separated, because I think a lot of it stems back into, oh, he doesn't want to work, they want to work, or I work, or what's the value of working and things and having stuff. It 100% subjective, and
This brings
time,
us.
place.
I love how our subjects naturally came back to the forefront of the conversation here. What motivates you to work? What keeps that motivation alive to actually work? Is it security that your stuff's going to be safe? Is it the security
It's
that
a system that I'm trapped in. Yeah, well, because I mean, like right now, why didn't I make more art? That's the question. I was out doing work to make physical money, pay for fuel, so that I can heat this,
yeah.
stay here and work. So I had to pull off, go and do this thing to do this thing to get the money. Art, making the money, it wouldn't right now because I'm not vending,
Mhm.
whatever. I haven't figured it out. It's my fucking fault. Fuck me. Anyway,
I literally am doing a painting that is a commission right now.
you're doing what?
I'm doing this painting I'm working on right now is a commission. So like
He's
I actually have
he's
had
amazing.
motivation issues with this painting. It should have been done weeks ago, but I'm having a lot of motivation issues because I want to work on my stuff. And when I sit down to work on this, I get upset and sad and anxious.
What an ungrateful son of a bitch.
I know. And that's what people that's the mindset, isn't it? It's a lot of
That's
the
the same thing that, yeah, that happens to me too. It's like we've got this thing where it's like, dude, we got a paid commission. This is awesome. And now it's like, now I'm drawing and it's like, oh, but I really want to work on mine.
yeah. So like
Jerk
that's
for
something
making me
where
like, fuck up. Yeah,
therapy
that's
actually helped me a little bit with that. Is therapy did teach me a lot about gratitude. You
mm,
touched on that with the calling it an ungrateful thing. I know were just was that you were
yeah.
using that as a turn of phrase, right?
Yeah, a lot of times I blow smoke up people's
Yeah.
asses. Like I say the it's the whole say bullshit, call bullshit. But a lot
Yeah.
of times I'll just say it in a funny way, like you ungrateful son of a bitch. But it's truly is.
Yeah.
I'm not lying. It's an issue of gratitude. It's like,
But
and I
that's
only say it that way because I said it back to myself as an artist.
mhm.
Because I'm like, yeah, it's like me calling another dude, hey, you big
Yeah.
fat bastard. I can say that. I got some weight on
in
me.
in
I can fat
therapy,
shame some people.
okay.
I can artist shame some people.
Yeah.
So I was empathizing with you
Yeah.
by saying like, "Oh, you ungrateful bastard," because there's so many
Mhm.
times where it's like, I just said it there. I was like, "Oh man, I didn't work on my work this week because I had to go do snow removal for this elderly couple that is so grateful that I've been able to help them. I've known them for 30 years, and it's such a wonderful experience to help these people, the people that got me into landscaping, the people that taught me life is beautiful more than the pathways of destruction and darkness that the other people put in. They are truly my grandparents,
Oh yeah.
non-biologically, and I love these people, and it's hard because I'm seeing them start to lose their memories and their minds, and it might be sad in the future, but I said these people, they mean something to me, and I will help them till the end because
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
are
the
my they're my family and they're my grandparents to me, and I will treat them as so, maybe like I won't
see the
remaining grand.
in therapy, I actually did learn that gratitude is the path to true motivation. Gratitude is like recognizing what you have, appreciating it, and then also recognizing that the work that it took to get there took time. Like being grateful to yourself, like having gratitude for your own constitution to actually get the shit done and do it. It's almost like being kind to your future self because you can look back and be like, I'm glad that I put that work in.
It's interesting. So I knew that life was moving really fast throughout this last year, and I go, doing a lot of work, dude. Take pictures of it. Just gonna cruise right by. Take milestone pictures. Go back and give yourself a year in review. So you can see it all. And I've done that to some certain capacity, but the problem is, um, I'm still fucked up. As much as I'm saying like I've got all these like kind of answers for you or this or that, I don't. I'm
Mhm.
well, a lot of what I'm doing is trying to figure it out for myself, and it's been a big journey. But I do realize there's areas that I'm struggling with, and when I knew, dude, like having something to be grateful for at a time in the year where you're going to be suffering from seasonal depression. Set it all up, dude. I set it all up so I could transition. I did steps. I tripped. I didn't do my year in review. I shut off. I kind of stepped away, and it spiraled, and I
Ah,
didn't get things. Yeah, I didn't get
so
things in line, so I had to take almost the entire month to get back on track because the imposter syndrome came in. Nope,
so
we're gonna we're not gonna look at that
we're
because
getting
you don't
into
deserve
the
it here, and it created a problem.
what caused that preconceived notion that led to that shame.
Um, which part? Like not reviewing
So like
the
you had a preconceived
anything that
notion that you were supposed to have this done by a certain time. You're supposed to,
yeah.
and then you felt shame because you did not complete it. You did not do what you said you were going to do, and you did that to your like you said that to yourself. There wasn't a. This was something that this was through therapy. Is that what you had said? Was this something
Uh,
that your therapist had put on you, or did you put it on yourself?
no, it was an idea that I knew. I was trying to work on gratefulness,
Yeah.
and I knew that like I move on very fast and I forget about things quickly. So I was like, make sure you record things that are important to you so
Mhm.
you can go back and review them. And a lot of times, dude, I have delusions of grandeur. Like, I'm gonna put this all together in a photo montage video, and like I did all this work for this guy's house, and I'm gonna make him a video and give it to him at the end. I didn't do that stuff. I haven't looked at
It's
the photos,
well,
and I probably won't.
that awareness is already a step in the right direction.
Like I'm good intentioned, but I just don't. I either don't have the motivation, or I'm just adding too much all the time. And that could have been what happened over the year, because by the time I got into the fall, I felt like things were starting to not be on my level of expectations. My work was shifting back. I wanted to wrap this up by this time. This was in my control. This wasn't. I did throw away some time because I was confused. Like, oh, it's supposed to be done, but I'm still going. But I have to go back. But now I don't know what to do now. So there's a few things that happened there. Then the holidays, but it left my January shitty, and I knew it was going to be like this. But I I realized that there was a certain amount of sabotage that put
The
in there.
self
Like,
sabotage.
yeah, like I didn't like November and December could have been a lot better. And I let from August on slowly kind of fall apart a little bit. And I think I had a higher expectation, killing it for 6 months of the year. But then I get exhausted. I don't know if this happens to you with ADHD. You go so
Yeah.
hard for so long, and then I can't do it anymore. So you fall completely away, and then it can mess you up because you were going so good, and then it's like, no, now I'm off. Now I got to scramble to get ahead. Now I can't, and yeah, so that became the problem. But so even now, it's hard because I would make certain decisions that I'm not. So I'm paving a new pathway. I don't always want to. Sometimes I just want to go digging in that deep one again. Let's
You
get
wanna
nuts.
you wanna go dig Doug.
Go dig Doug.
You
See
wanna
if
Doug dig.
I want to see if he's still down there,
Don't
man.
don't let Doug get you down.
He'd still be down there, and he might want to hang out, dude.
He doesn't come looking for you. He doesn't deserve that. He doesn't deserve that treatment from you. He never tries
Right?
to come to the surface to meet you where you are.
What if he can't? What if he's stuck?
If he's stuck,
What if I have? What if I have to save him?
save yourself first.
Can't save.
You can't save him until you save yourself.
That's another. That's another one. I learned
Yeah.
that one 20 years ago.
Yeah,
You know that one. That one's good.
I do. That one's something that I've been trying to teach other people in my life that I really care about. I've been trying to be like, hey, I see you put your neck out for everyone in your life, and you're exhausted, you're tired. These people don't seem like they're improving at all. So maybe you need to recoup your energy and focus on yourself for a while, and then come back to that. Come back to that, trying to help them later.
Yeah, like being a compromised version of yourself, like on low power mode, like occasionally plugging in a charge, and then you're expected to help other people. How you
Mhm.
gonna do that?
Yeah,
You gotta,
you're just
you're
not.
depleted.
So like
Yeah,
that's where the importance of not shaming yourself really comes in.
and I'm surrounded. I'm just swimming through shame. So it's really easy, and then
Women.
yeah, it fucks you up. But you have to
Absolutely.
you have to sort it out. Like, why are you shamed? Like, and a lot of that's just people being shitty and saying something too early in life for you to know the difference. God, it's heavy. It's exhausting and it's weighty. But so here's the thing. Even this was the decision that I decided to do. I wasn't being very social, and I love hanging out with like the Twitch community in the winter, and it's been great gaming, my friends, and doing this morning with you. And I actively came home and I looked forward to it. It was nice. Like,
Hmm.
my therapist has been saying, like, schedule schedule stuff, dude.
Schedule. Yeah, that's what I
Like,
have to do. I wouldn't
and
stream if I didn't have this schedule.
yeah, I noticed that with you. Like, I was gonna ask, like, I thought, like, you've been very consistent with the schedule often too, and seems to work really well for you. And I did it with streaming back in the day, and it was really good. But yeah, I gave that up a couple years ago, and I do respect that you're able to do that. And this is nice having just this scheduled. Like, I even told my old man the other day, he's like, "Hey, I had some work. We want to go do this stuff." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm pretty much free right now. I go back and forth with a couple side jobs. Just
Hmm.
Friday morning, I can't do anything." So, like,
Oh yeah,
I already had you in mind, because
and
it's
that's
at this point, this is work that can be moved around. There's no reason it needs
it
to be.
has incredibly helped my relationships in my life, and helped me realize like there I had to draw a hard line with some people. Like they were like, oh, I only have this day to hang out. I'm like, well, I have this stream that day. Like, sorry, I can't hang out with you that day. And then they have work the rest of the week, and it's like, oh, I guess I'm just not going to see that person. And then
Yeah,
with my girlfriend, it's like I have a hard line to I started a Monday stream, so now I have a hard line of if you want to do anything with me, it's Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, and then I gotta go home Monday. Like I have to,
yeah, because
which is
you
it
you
creates really good
understand that
structure.
value. The value is so important for people like us. And I mean, so here's the word of the day. The word of the day, the input of the day. If you have ADHD,
Mhm.
you're having
If
trouble, get yourself a whiteboard calendar or maybe a notebook and write some things down every once in a while, and it might just help.
right, it's the key word
Right.
there.
Yeah, I mean, I found, so the beginning of the month was kind of crappy, and well, no, the end of December was hard for me. January came in, I had a lot of good stuff happen. Positive, negative. I was like, this is an interesting year already. And then a lot of work was coming in. So there we go. My state of mind's a lot better, because
Hmm.
I hate money like you, but I hate money because I don't make money, because it's the artist thing and whatever
Yeah,
that is. And I have all kinds of
it's like I
feelings.
don't.
But
I like the things that money brings, the security, the safety, the stuff. But then like I hate the process to get the money, and I hate that it doesn't actually give me the feeling of accomplishment. Acquiring money never gives me that actual feeling of I did a thing, good for me, look at me doing the thing. It doesn't give me that feeling. It never has.
I always feel like money should be secondary, tertiary, down the road. But that
Yeah.
sounds to me like the rhetoric and speak of a privileged, affluent person. automatically I start getting resentful, full of judgment. Like, yeah, it fucking must be nice. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
instantly comes into my head. Like, somebody told me they're like, oh yeah, like we're not like really rich, but then they also told me like right after, like, oh, I didn't have to, I worked, but I didn't work for survival. I worked for pleasure.
Right.
Like, dude, you just said that to me. I'm gonna charge you more on your bill.
Yep.
Coming at me with ideology shit like that. I also ended up I sit on this board, and I've been in a situation where people have said like they've been criticized for having more money by the public. At this case, I'm in a nicer place, and they're saying like, oh, the people in the public saying we're squandering money, or we're rich, or this and that.
Yeah.
I'm hardly rich, right? They said they're hardly rich, and now house had raised ceilings, driveway, and it's like,
Yeah. Well, the mentality that I grew up with says that if you're rich, then you probably did something bad to
yeah,
get
we
there.
talked about this meeting last week. Yeah, like you
Yeah.
stepped on hands.
You must have had to make some choices that caused other people to lose their money. Because that's how wealth works. It travels. Is to go from one place to another. It's an
And it's
energy. It's
interesting.
it's an energy transfer.
That's it. That's what you said.
Yeah.
That's the way that I look at it now, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to forget about that point of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I recontextualized and made it less about people, and I'm making. Somebody said that one time, and I thought it was the douchiest thing to say. Like, oh,
Oh, jeez.
money is an energy, and it just seems to flow into me. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm gonna say that.
And you thought it was you thought it was douchey.
Yeah, I just didn't
I
like
did
it
too
because
when
you.
I
Yeah.
I did too when I first heard it, but like the way that it was proposed to me by this group that I had been with, they said that it's an energy transfer. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense because I put energy into my job and they give me money in return. I put
Yeah.
energy into the artwork I'm doing for someone, they give me money in return. But and if you expel too much of your energy in return for the money that you're getting, then that's not a fair deal.
And then people just don't want to work.
Yeah, and I guess people just don't want to work because they don't have the energy. It's like they don't have the energy to transfer. And I think everyone has a different. Like if you get into physical disabilities, like where's my motivation to work for a company that's not going to pay me enough for the energy I'm putting in?
Look at me, world. I'm not working. I don't want to work.
Look at this guy in his arcade talking
Look
on a
at this guy.
podcast.
Look at this guy in his arcade not working. Fucking nobody works.
It's just this fucking guy. This
This
guy.
fucking guy.
Oh
This
my
guy.
god.
He's got an iPhone, got a Fitbit, and shit.
Stop
This
drinking
guy's
so
a
much
drain.
iced coffee. That's your motivation.
Rain on the system.
So
But I do have my 99-cent coffee every day, any size, Cumberland Farms. I'm not
look,
paying $5.
we're gonna wrap up soon, so I do want to touch on these other subjects here a little bit.
Oh, we've just begun.
Look, we've dug pretty deep into this dig dug here. The holes that we dig for ourselves come from a place of shame.
That's what we should name our coffee and contemplation. Digging holes with CP and Spicy.
Hi, this is Spicy Viking. He has the friend a CP on the stream, and we talking about Doug. His name's Doug, and he dig.
Yeah.
we dig deep here with Doug. There's something there. I know what you're saying. There's something there. We could use that. Well, I think that we could do. I might start doing segments, but I don't want to structure too much of the actual stream itself. I do want to do the subjects, but I think having a deep dig, we'll call it.
Hey, like the deep dish, a deep dig. I like that. Yeah.
I'm gonna do deep dig. So like, on today's deep dig,
oh yeah, and then we can come in, and the graphics come in, dude, and it's like ready for some deep digging. Dig me out, and the shovel's going in the dirt like this. Oh, dig me.
The freaking the air horn wow goes off.
Dig me out.
So on today's deep dig, I want to get into why does us not having the motivation to complete a task or to do the thing cause so much shame? And is it a preconceived notion that we have for ourselves to excel, to be capable? That's why these are all connected in a way.
Say that. Reiterate that. So I was thinking about some deep digging.
Like, why do we feel so much shame when we lack motivation? And is it based on a preconceived notion that we have about ourselves, about our capabilities?
Well, I would think it's a one thing I could say. You and I are American citizens, and here in America, there's a competitive on fight for your work, and like there's I think there's a shame in our nation we live in, the country we live in, where it's like if you're not achieving or doing this, you're lazy.
Yeah. If you're
You have
not
to
constantly
you have to be like
working,
you have to be like these working fools.
these working
You can't
fools,
just exist.
those hustlers out there, man.
It's funny how that we do think that we all have to work when there aren't enough jobs in any capacity for 8 billion people. And a lot of those jobs will go away. New ones will come along, but like I don't see population diminishing. So like it's just a numbers game. Like how do you expect it to work? Like if I was the only dude in the area doing like whatever, say I do lots of things, but say I'm like the only guy doing yard stuff. I'm the only guy doing home maintenance, artist in the town. That's when there's so much competition and the level is always exponentially going higher and higher. Um, and the production value of what you can obtain, like like good example, being a Mainer. We have a group of guys called the Maine Cabin Masters. Try to explain this to my father that a lot of everybody is a brand now, and every doesn't matter who you are. Like it just is conditioned in you, especially if you want to go out and be a celebrity or have a voice. You need merch, you need
Mhm.
stickers, you need identity, and what sets you apart. The show back in the day to come before the Cabin Masters was Duck Dynasty.
Oh,
Watch it. I didn't watch it. I didn't need to watch it because they were fucking everywhere, and I knew who they were and know them by name. I heard the old guy said some racist shit. That's not surprising. Look at
yeah.
him. He's 80 years old. But there's that kind of stuff. But they were just dudes that made duck calls apparently. But they had a reality show, and the reality show highlighted their personalities. And then they were selling so many duck calls, probably they're sold out. So now what? Well, now we monetize ourselves. We're the brand. Put our faces on the shirt. They sold. I mean, if any of you guys don't remember, I don't know if it happened in other parts of the world, but in America, we had Duck Dynasty stuff just hemorrhaging at the gate. You couldn't go into a department store without seeing like giant display of that shit
Oh,
everywhere.
it was a weird, like, it was a phenomenon. I don't know what went on with that. I don't know why people were so obsessed with it.
They branded themselves. They made themselves the characters,
Mhm.
and they sold the stuff that appealed to their demographic. So they were being like hicks, and like dudes of the country, but then they were selling stuff for that, like a duck call is a hunting thing, and then next thing you know, oh, a T-shirt, maybe it's camo, maybe it's country. It fits that identity and that
It's a
vibe that we
culture.
talked about, that culture and that self concept. So it's branded. Moving forward to that, the main cabinet masters are just the new iteration, and trying to explain to my father like how to generate business in the world today. I go, those Duck Dynasty peoples, they created themselves, they made themselves a brand, but the main cabin masters have done the same thing. They're a brand. So it's like, who do I hire
Oh, thank you,
in
Burning
the
Monkey.
area?
Sorry, go ahead.
You like, who do you hire in the area? The fucking dude you saw on TV, right? But they can probably get a crazy premium now, because even more important, because they're going to have such demand, and they're not going to have enough people to work for them, and they're not even going to be selling uh themselves anymore. What they're going to do is they're going to franchise it out and have subcontractors, and then they could hire someone like me, and I could go. I'm like, oh, I'm here, main cabinet masters. Like, I'm the guy, but I'm not. It's just the association that
Mm-hmm.
got me in the door, but then it got us the higher price. It's crazy. It's crazy. That being said, the main cabin masters own property, and they just got butt fucked by the EPA
Oh my
for
god.
not being in violation. And then the EPA goes, we're going to leverage our agenda and we're going to make you do community service about it. Go on your show and talk about the dangers of lead paint. So everybody's using everybody for everything. That's the
Yeah.
nature of the world. And so the fucking federal government used the Environmental Protection Agency, used the celebrity of the main cabin masters to then promote their thing. So, like, not only are they doing it, that's the shitty thing. Other people will do it too. That's why cancel culture, all this stuff comes in, all just like ways to guide things to inherently get what you want.
Everyone wants their fingers and everything. Everyone wants to have
You
their hand in the cookie jar.
watch the show The Righteous Gemstones?
Oh my god.
It's
No.
such a good show. There's this part where they go back in the past, and there's like it's like in the 60s or 70s, so there's like a civil rights like riot, and the old guys in the back and the two young guys are in the front, and the young guy says something like kind of shitty and racist about all these black people like protesting in the street, and the dad just and it's contradictory because you'd think it'd be the other way around, but the dad's like, oh, you leave them alone. They just want the same thing that everybody wants. Piece of the fucking pie. And I was like, man, that's like so right, dude. That's all anybody wants, is to be part of it, to be part of the world that we all benefit, to not be discriminated or disenfranchised. And we all just want a piece of that. And we're so conditioned to it. It's even more so and more so. We figure out ways psychologically, being taught how how psychology works. We're talking about it today.
Yep.
And we could apply this with our business.
So do you feel like this allegory you've made with the cabinet masters and the Duck Dynasty is that we feel shame because when we don't meet our own expectations based on motivation, because we're not getting a big enough piece of the pie, and it causes even more corruption, causes even more what's it called, dissent among the ranks, because now our motivation is stunted even further because we see people gaining more and more power over us in society while we're busting our ass and being so hard on ourselves.
Yeah,
we lose motivation because of that.
I think I framed a narrative from my own perspective, being someone who grew up in working class traditions in the state of Maine, inundated with television, seeing the nature of how these things. I've constructed a specific thing that's in part biased to my own experience, but it does inform ultimately my self-concept, and I find that kind of stuff can be dangerous, especially if you're resentful in nature. I mean, I can hold my self-concept a person that I hang out with regularly and feel fucking up, but then I see someone on television and it's like, it's unfair for me to ever, like, I could be inspired. Unrealistic expectation on most. I mean, we do it as kids. It's like, what a young folks want to do. They want money, they want love or sexual situations or things like that. And we show them videos of like money and fame and beauty and sex and stuff. It's like, you can have it all. And it's like, start very early exploiting human, like these very simple not fair. It's not fair to market and start getting into people like that based on their most primal interests and insecurities. But we do it, and don't hold yourself against Duck Dynasty because they're on TV, right? But fuck, man, they had to start somewhere. Did you even make the duck call? You got to ask yourself these questions. Like, did you even start with the product? How did they even get to the point here? Did you grow a beard down to your balls? Like, no, I mean, like, these guys, they just did things. Sure, some things work out more for other people. Sometimes those guys probably might have stepped on other people's toes. But I don't give a shit about them at all. And I just know they're an example. I don't know any of their names. I never heard their voice. I don't think I've heard. I know a lot about Elon Musk, but I don't know if I've really ever watched him on TV. Weird.
I used to love Elon Musk. I used to think that he was really cool until I learned more. And like, I almost think sometimes I say I wish I didn't learn those things about him. But then I'm realizing, wait, I actually am very glad though, because if I had gone too far down that rabbit hole, would I then become one of the people like violently supporting him, even after all this stuff was realized?
You have a tendency to be an idolater.
Yeah, very much so.
Oh, I got someone you can worship.
I don't want to. What?
Hey, baby.
Kings or gods, only man.
Well, that's why I have a hard time with heroes.
Yeah.
You talked about you have a hero version of yourself. I was like, I'm gonna run right in there and fucking smash his head off the ground.
Just beat him up.
I get mad. I get fuck that hero. But no, I'm starting to find heroes. I'm trying to make heroes. I don't believe in heroes. That's
you want to be beholden to them.
I want the bad guys to win. I'm a bad guy.
Wait, what?
Bad guys never win.
You're not a bad guy.
That's the perception. It's it's why I like the bad guys. It's like I like the anti-heroes. They were like a little cooler, And,
I also have trouble with that when people say, "Oh yeah, he's a great guy. That's a great guy." Like they're talking about a friend of theirs, or they're talking about someone like they're about to introduce you to. Like this, I love this guy. This guy's a great guy. And I think my immediate thought is, this guy's human. Not, like, essentially, like, none of us are good or bad. One of the concepts that I've been mulling about in my head is the concept of the mirror. What you need to do is look in the mirror and...
All right, I'm doing it now.
I'm saying everybody watching, everyone needs to look in the mirror and realize that Hitler, no matter how evil...
Oh, this is where you go... Fuck, I didn't think you were going to lead with that.
Yeah.
I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and he goes, Hitler? And I'm looking right at myself, like, fuck, dude, what are you doing?
So where we're going with this is that Hitler, no matter how evil he was, or what he did, he was still a human being who just wanted what was best for everyone in his country. Maybe not everyone. But the thing is that you have to realize that everyone has a Hitler inside of them.
Holy fuck.
Everyone. No, literally every...
This is the t-shirt you're going to sell?
No, maybe.
I don't know. Everyone's got a little Hitler inside of them.
The point is, like, it's not just the idea that everyone has a Hitler inside of them. Everyone has a Mother Teresa inside of them too.
Oh.
That's where we're going with this. Is that you are faced with everyday choices, just as he was. And the choices you make ultimately are where you can decide whether or not you're a good or a bad guy. So when someone comes to me and says, "Oh yeah, I love this guy. He's a great guy. This is a great guy," I'm just like, that person also has a little bit of everything in them, just like every one of us does. Like, don't come at me and tell me that he's a good guy. I want to hear about what he's done. I want to hear about where he's gone, how he made his choices, and then we can talk about how good of a guy he is, or how good of a person that person is. Regardless of, I just use that basic just gender just to sort of... So that's what I am male, so when I talk about a hypothetical person, I usually go towards the guy, like this is a guy.
Yeah.
But the point of that thought experiment is when you go and look in the mirror and realize that, you're supposed to... What you will immediately realize is all the choices that you've made that sort of say that you haven't gone that far as he did.
mirror and I turn into
And that's also not fair in the aspect that he also had some very obvious mental illnesses that were untreated and unchecked.
holy fuck. Now I know I get into so much trouble.
Why you get into so much trouble?
Because our rationale, like I think the same way you do. Like it's a hard thing to get into. It's like when you find yourself all of a sudden starting a conversation that sympathizes Adolf Hitler, people get pissed off.
It's
But
nope.
I get it.
It's actually
I
very
get it, dude.
important. This is empathizing.
No, it is. It's fucked up because you have to. It's like getting into that Buddhist ideology where
Oh yeah.
we're all connected because like people don't want to suffer. Basically, it. I mean, we all experience pain and we don't want to suffer. That's a truth that every human being, even if you don't have emotions, even if you're a sociopath,
Yeah.
you still don't want to suffer. You want something different.
No one does. No one wants to suffer. And if you felt like you had a solution that was foolproof, no matter how mentally ill you were, like if say you were like completely mentally ill, like to the point where you probably shouldn't be out and about in society, if you were that mentally ill, just because you have a conviction, just because you have a conviction within you, like that you want to help people, does that mean that you deserve the podium?
Oh yeah, gotcha.
Ve Victus V, thank you so much for that follow. We're digging deep into the human condition. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks.
We're on the deep dig. We're in the dig deep. The dig dug.
Indeed.
Dug and div. Dig dug deep. So
he's gonna get fucking real wild with this. He's gonna spit a freestyle rap.
The concept we're going into here is that you have the capacity to be as evil as the worst dictators that have ever lived, but you also have the capacity to be the most compassionate and loving human being that as many of the other people that, why can't I name them? Like Gandhi's the one that gets said all the time, Mother Teresa, those ones, but there's so many more philanthropic, like amazing people out there that have done awesome things. Dalai Lama. Those are like famous ones though. I struggle with that. With like,
you want some you want some deep cuts?
Like one that gets sort of pushed under the rug a lot is
Martin Luther King.
Jimmy Carter, yeah. I think. Yeah, he's done so much for the homeless. Like he built homes for the homeless. He's like 80 years old. He's out there building these homes. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah. Jimmy Carter goes,
yeah.
We have a problem in this country. We need to be less materialistic.
Yeah.
He wanted us to challenge that notion. And then your boy Reagan came in and goes, man, no. In your American right to be materialistic, just start stacking that shit. I'm gonna give you credit cards. And this is the time I
raid, Mr. Froggy, raid, Sharpie raid. Hide your Sharpies. Oh no, my Sharpies. Oh, they're right there. You can't have them. Thank you so much for that raid, Sharpie thief.
Welcome on in.
Welcome. We're doing some coffee and contemplation. We're currently studying the thought experiment called the mirror. If you guys would like to join, it's pretty heavy. I completely understand if you do not want to participate. You have my own raid message. Hippity hop hop. Hoppity hop hop. Nice. I'm endlessly drawing scales on this dragon while we talk about whether or not you have the propensity to be an evil human being.
Yeah, you missed it. We were talking about Hitler.
Yeah, so the thought experiment. Just so you guys are cued in, this might be pretty intense coming from Sharpie's stream. Yes.
That's right. We're talking about the capacity for good and evil, and despite even the worst and good people, they had a capacity to be either side.
Sound alerts.
Well, look at this. We're all look at all these people in here. All these little.
A fabulous.
You should run your game. Your little.
Eyes on your Mjolnir. No,
you should
exactly.
Run your boss battle. Got a lot of creatures down there to fight.
Oh, the endless conundrum. Yes.
I'm Roger Wilco.
Savvy Sister Shop, Lindsay, thank you so much for the follow.
All right.
Guys, welcome to Coffee and Contemplation. I'm Space Viking 42. We have with us CP Sketch. To be good or not to be good. It's not necessarily the concept we're talking about. It's you look in the mirror, and what you do is you think, you basically focus in on who you are, your deeds, everything you've done, and you ask, and you realize what I did to CP here is I basically just said the word Hitler, and it broke him.
He didn't just basically say it. He's like, even he could have turned around and got his shit together. All right, dude.
Well, that's not what I said.
Now I'm misquoting him.
No, what I'd said is that every human being has the propensity to be good, to be bad, because like when you wake up in the morning, essentially all you ever want to do. No one says I'm going to become a dictator today. No one wakes up and says I'm going to become this, right? Well, I don't know exactly. That's true. You're right.
I mean, I don't know.
Why be good? Why be good? Why even? Why?
What about archetypes?
I'm gonna burn my house down.
You believe in archetypes though?
Archetypes?
Like Jungian archetypes, like that were predisposed though for good and evil, or
predisposition is a rabbit hole of all things. Like the thing about predisposition, you get into the concept of causality. You end up going down a hole of like, is everything predetermined? Like there's
is there free will? Yeah,
is there free will? Like you're running down this goes way off. That's an important thing to talk about, don't get me wrong, but what we're talking about here is every time you make a decision, it's not like you're making a decision to become an evil human being. And I believe Hitler also had that same sort of, he actually believed what he was doing was better for humanity than the other choices he was posed with. I don't think anyone really wakes up in the morning saying like, I'm gonna do bad shit. I'm gonna make bad things happen to tons and tons of people. In his case, there was definitely a mental health problem there because he was damn sure that there was a problem with a certain group of people. But he was so sure that he made decisions and convinced others. He was so sure he convinced others. That was one of the craziest things to me. He was so sure of that he convinced other human beings to go along with it. That's the craziest part to me.
Yeah, the dangers of groupthink are amazing.
Yeah.
We see it all the time.
But the main point of the oh, sorry, CP, go ahead.
Oh, well, we see it all the time everywhere. People get up, we see certain different protests and just assemblies. You see it.
You hear Wilhelm screams, Victus V. When I look in the mirror, I see flashbacks of trench warfare from World War I and the sounds of people dying in mass. Wilhelm screams everywhere. If that's true, we were just talking about therapy and the benefits of it. If you actually do see that, I would recommend talking to someone, but no pressure really. I'm not here to to force people to do anything. But that's usually what you'd want to do. Is talk to someone about it, and make it so that when you look in a mirror you see a reflection of yourself instead of the horrors of war.
But that being said, I gave you a lot of shit about like the Hitler thing, but I understand that concept because it gets me in a lot of trouble too. Because when you say certain things, when I have a tendency to try to figure out and empathize with not only the villain, but someone will come to me and be like, "Hey, I had this thing, like, oh, stealing my brother or something." Like, blah blah blah, and what they want you to say,
a
long time this is be like, yeah, that dude's an asshole. It's basically what they want you to say.
Yeah, they want they're just looking for an echo.
Yeah, but what I found was more valuable was to be like, well, let's analyze the other perspective of the person who's not here right now that you're pissed with, and let's
who's not here right now. That's important. Yeah,
and get their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And it might completely diminish what you're doing right now, but it might get us the answer. We're gonna get some resolve because that's all I care about. Because I'm in my head, like, I gotta figure this out so that I can feel calm. And
that's all right, Sharpie Thief. Thank you so much for your raid. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks.
We'll be wrapping up here pretty soon anyway. we're currently doing our deep dig, which is I'm actually thinking it'll be a good way to wrap up the stream.
Yeah, I can just kind of go off on some stuff. The thing is, you tend to do that. You empathize like this bad guy or the person who's not there, or if we're doing it for good intentions and discovery found, but it's tough. It's like hard to weigh those things out when you're an intense human being and be like, what does this person need from me? They want an echo chamber? Do they want an answer? Hard to figure that stuff out.
Sometimes it's really good to ask, like, especially if the person is your friend.
Yeah.
You can just ask, hey, do you just need to vent right now, or are you looking for solutions?
Yeah, that communication.
It's worked really well in my personal relationships, especially with my girlfriend. It's just like, hey, do you need solutions, or do you want to vent? And she's been appreciative of that, and it seems like it helps a lot with my friendships as well, where someone will call me almost like in a panic attack, and I'm gonna be like, hey, do you want to come out of the panic attack, or do you just need someone to talk to right now?
Gotcha. Yeah, and those are hard questions to ask. But I think they're even harder. Yeah, they're even harder. Yeah, they're even harder questions to not ask.
To not ask, yeah.
Not know. It feels so simple. I think I tried to become a mind reader because I was someone who didn't ask, so I'm perceptive. Generally, look at someone and get a good sense of them. I can feel their energy, and it because when you live in a volatile area or grow up in a volatile home, you're always weighing out the situations. Like, how are mom and dad in the living room right now? Because I have to go through it, and I definitely am not going to ask them. I'm going to figure it out. I got to know if it's safe. So you don't get in the habit of asking. Just try to predict things, but that's really hard. And I appreciate that idea of just ask. But for some people,
Thank you,
easier
Sharpie.
said than done. Easier said than done.
Definitely easier said than done. Like I have like almost too much compassion when it comes to things like that, where I always want to help. I always want to do, like, go into solution mode. Like I almost like jump into solution mode immediately.
Yeah, I'd say the same. Why are we so damned inquisitive?
Damn inquisitive apes.
What happened to us, man?
What happened to us?
We'll figure it out. Yeah, I appreciate that we get to have these longer talks. Leave some of it open minded because I find that I get a couple good aha moments.
Like things that you might have needed to work through.
Yeah, if you talk long enough, and hey, we can go back and actually watch this.
Real.
Fact check.
Well, I
You can see
actually
what
I have to listen to it three times. I have to do it, and then I have to edit it twice.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I still haven't gotten around to editing the first one.
Good dude. I've been doing our podcast for a year, and we haven't.
You haven't done the audio yet?
No, we haven't edited any of them. We archived a bunch of them, but it's just Abso does so much of the hands-on stuff, and I told her, I was like, I can be on it and do a little bit of stuff, but I had a hard time committing, so I don't want to make more work for her.
I'm gonna lock my. Oh man, I wish I could lock my clone tool right here, because look what it's doing for the scales. It's making the scales take a lot less time.
Or you can throw your Inky cam out of there. Inky's gone.
Yeah, she's not really. She got upset with me. I was overstimulating her.
Zoom out on this. I want to get it. I've only seen it in part because I'm looking at like a bunch of
Oh, I got you.
screens.
This isn't the 95% stage.
This for a book or
The commission I was telling you about. So
the
those
book
of you
jacket?
who came in with Sharpie Thief, I appreciate you hanging out here. I'm Space Viking 42. I'm a variety streamer, and we're currently doing Coffee and Contemplation. And I have with me CP Sketch of Dreamers Arcade, who's also a streamer of the variety type.
I will say I've been on hiatus. We do a Sunday. We do a Thursday podcast, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Pizza Cat Chat podcast on the Dreamers Arcade. But we do have that up and running. I will be doing some creative and gaming streams hopefully next month, maybe a drawing challenge, 4 weeks of cheeks. We can talk more about that later. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
There's
I really appreciate. I started doing this with Space Viking just to get into something again, in addition to my regular Thursday night, and it's been awesome. Like we really just go off for like 3 hours in the morning, and I appreciate sorting out some of this madness and
madness.
Speaking with you in the chat, and you know, it's free therapy. We're not licensed, but few people who were that we've talked to.
Sometimes we're not even smart.
I know. I mean, a lot of this is just playing.
Yeah, exactly. We're just
trying to figure it out.
This is brain playing.
You know, we're just trying to figure it all out. We don't claim to have answers. I claim to know some things that seem pretty consistent, but it's always up for argument. Know that we are biased. We are impacted by people, society, and region, and you got it, dude.
Region does it pretty heavy. I always forget about region.
We have a commonality because Viking and I are just a couple hours away. So
both New Englanders.
Same country in New England. We do see each other from time to time. Yeah, I know we're going to do an artist retreat
in June.
Nice. We'll share some stuff.
That will be really nice.
And so see some IRL collaborations there. But yeah, if you want to get to know me, I'm over the Dreamers Arcade, but I'm also Instagram Dreamers Arcade, CP Sketch for my art. You can check stuff out there.
Literally in the Dreamers Arcade right now.
Huh?
You're right there right now. You're right behind you.
Yeah, there's an arcade behind me. And this is all going to be under renovation. Come over to my channel the next, I don't
know. Do it. Go there. Oh, where'd your mic go, CP?
Where'd my mic? Is it there?
They missed that. It's there now.
I was waving